Hello and welcome to Tamer Talks Change. I talk about change and transformation to our most fulfilling lives. And today I'll be talking about the very first and basic element we need to have in place if we want to make a true change or a transformation in our lives. The one thing that is at the heart of any profound transformation: mindset or mentality. It's a vast topic, and today I'll be specifically talking about the basics. Three things. What is mindset, and why do we tend to perceive things rather negatively than positively? Two, the story we tell ourselves and the power of thoughts. And three, how can we rewire our brain and mindset to build a strong success mindset? So let's unpack that. If you like the content, please remember to subscribe, click like, and leave a comment. And even better, share it with someone who you believe will benefit of it. So let's get started. The very first thing is, what is mindset, and why is it that we tend to perceive things negatively rather than positively? And what contribute to that? Why are we wired this way, or why many of us are wired this way? So mindset is all about how we think and perceive and translate situations or events around us or that happen to us. And how do we feel? How do they make us feel? And how do we decide to act? How do we decide to do about them? The average of thoughts per person a day is between 50 and 70,000 thoughts. The studies show that most of those thoughts, up to 80%, could be negative. Can you imagine if you're having so many thoughts a day, or if we're having so many thoughts a day, and having majority of those negative, what could be the impact? How can we go about with our lives or making any successful change? But the question is, why does it happen? What contributes to one person having, perceiving events in a negative way and others perceiving it in a positive way? It's like this famous example of glass half full and half empty. What decides if you see it half positive or if you see it half negative? What decides if you see it half empty or half full? 5 factors actually decides or impact or influence how we perceive those things or how we see events or how we see things. First thing is childhood. The way we were raised and the way we were brought up by our parents dictate to a very far extent how we see things, how our mindset is shaped. Our mindset is shaped up from when we were born up to when we are 18 years of age. And the funny thing is, or the critical thing is, by the age of 7, 90% of our beliefs is formed already. And it is formed first and foremost by our parents. If your parents were telling you that you are smart and you are capable, you will become smart and capable, or you became smart and capable. That became your reality. If you were unfortunately told otherwise, if you were told that you're not smart or you're not capable, or maybe you're not really good with math, or maybe you're not really good with science, or you're not really good with dealing or talking to people, if you were told these messages when you were brought up, that became in your core belief, that became engraved in your core belief. And obviously that impacts a lot of the way how you see the cup, the glass half full or half empty. Number 2 is school. School, the way your teachers taught you, the way your teachers reacted to your successes and failures, and how everyone around you behaved or acted with you, determines to a far extent your core beliefs. If you were encouraged by your teachers, then obviously you would always be perceiving things positively. If you were discouraged or if you were blamed by your failures or in successes, then obviously that will become your mentality. The third thing is friends. And this is a super powerful topic. I will definitely be talking about it like in an episode on its own. But we are who we are friends with. Our beliefs and our self-esteem and our confidence and how we perceive things is greatly influenced by our friends, because this is not something that only remains with us at childhood. It continues to go and grow with us all throughout all our lives. Our childhood friends had an impact, a definite impact on us, and our friends today and our surrounding today definitely has an impact on us. But the way we have, or the friends we had, definitely had an impact on how we see things and how our mind and becomes in terms of positive and negative. The fourth element is media, and this is something we can see. The kids who grew up watching a lot of TV or watching a lot of media are behaving differently than the ones who grew up reading more, probably, for example, or watch different kind of stuff. Like I remember, always the kids we had, or the friends I had when I was growing up, who always read more and watched more of scientific or those kind of documentaries. They were thinking and perceiving things differently than the ones who were always watching, the regular cartoons or superhero movies. So definitely the media, whether it's news or movies, it does impact how our mentality is shaped and how we perceive things. The fifth and the last element is our own beliefs, your own limiting beliefs. And again, this is also another vast topic, but the story you tell yourself determines how you see things. Your limiting beliefs are the limitations your brain puts on you that no one else decided. Only you decided. And the limitations you believe you have, even though they could not be proven, decide how you see things and uh, how you react to events around you. And that takes me to the second point, which is the story we tell ourselves and the power of self-talk. So, first, there are three levels of self-talk, and this is something very important to understand. The first level of self-talk is limiting beliefs. It's when you tell yourself a story that is not necessarily substantiated. So if you tell yourself, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I cannot quit smoking, I cannot lose weight, I cannot get this promotion, I cannot be successful at this job, I cannot do this job, all those kind of limiting beliefs, you decided that you're not able to do this, you decided that you're not capable of doing this all by yourself. Your brain put that on you. Even if it was coming from a past experience, even if you failed at something, it doesn't mean that you will continue all your life failing at it. Your history is not your destiny. It does not define your destiny. And this is the very first kind of self talk. So imagine if you have someone all the time talking to you in your ear, whispering, you're not smart enough, you're not capable, you cannot do this, you cannot quit smoking, you cannot lose the weight, you cannot get this job, your boss doesn't like you. If you have someone whispering these kind of negative talks to yourself all the time, what would you do? How would you feel? Would you like to have this company around you? Of course not. And that is the level one, or the very first level of self talk, when you're hammering yourself all the time with negativity, with limitations, just emphasizing and talking a lot about your limitations. The second level of self talk is when you tell yourself, I want to change, but I want to quit smoking, but I can't. I want to lose the weight. Oh, but the approach or the journey is so tough and I would be hungry. I want to get that promotion. I want to do work hard for this promotion, but my boss doesn't like me. Or they do not in this company accept diverse professionals to actually take executive positions. It is the story you tell yourself. Again, you want to change. You are conscious of your desires and ambitions to grow and to change and to transform, but you have the but. So it's kind of a half positive, half negative, but eventually you don't grow much from here, or you don't go much from there, because you ended by, but I cannot do it. And the third level of talk, of self-talk, is when you talk positively to yourself, when you stop saying, I cannot do this, or I want to do it, but I can't because of one, two, three, and find yourself excuses. But it's when you say, I am able to do this. I am able to get this promotion if I work hard, if I work for it, if I do the right things, if I have and acquire what it takes to get the promotion. I will be able to quit smoking if I do this. I will be able to lose the weight if I do that. This is the kind of positive talk that you tell yourself, in a positive manner. And this is the third level of talk. And it's very important to understand, when I'm talking about these three levels of talks, it is very important to understand that you are where you are today because of this kind of self-talk. If you told yourself a limiting belief story, then obviously this is where you would be today. If you told yourself a positive message and a capable message, and encourage yourself and opened up, all horizons to yourself just to try and do it, you would be there today. And again, it will take me to that point of, your history does not define your destiny. You are where you are because of the thoughts you had and the kind of self-talk you did to yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to stay here, or you have to stay with this kind of self-talk. It's very important to understand that where you will be at the kind of transformation you hope for, and your most fulfilling life, your dream life, it will only be achievable, and you will only go there when you talk to yourself accordingly, when you are convinced with it, when you are able and encourage yourself, and fill yourself with affirmation that you are able to do it. So this is the impact of self-talk on where we are. And that takes me to the last and third aspect of today's episode, which is, how can we rewire our brain to think positively, knowing the five sources of um, impact on our mindset and how we perceive things, and knowing the kind, or the three kinds, or three levels of self-talk. How can we rewire our brain? How can we rebuild our brain and our mindset to become strong and positive success mindset? Couple of things. The very first thing is the art of letting go. It's something I've learned from a keynote speaker to the famous writer Jason Jennings. He was talking about the art of letting go. He was talking about how monkeys are being captured in Africa. When hunters want to capture monkeys, what do? They bring a coconut shell, and they make a hole in it that is big enough to fit in the monkey's hand in it. And they fill it with peanuts, and they just leave him there on the ground. They just seal it, except for that hole, fill it with peanut, and leave it on the ground. When the monkeys come, shake it, they realize that there is something in it. They would squeeze their hands in and grab the peanuts, right? When they grab the peanuts, the coconut shell is stuck in their hands, so they practically cannot run, they cannot, climb up trees. So when the hunters come to capture them, the monkeys would want to keep holding to the peanuts, but they cannot go anywhere, they cannot run, so they would fall down from the trees, so they are, easily captured. All the monkeys had to do was let go. If they just let go of the peanuts, they could take their hands off, out of the hole again, and be able to run away and escape. But they didn't. And that is the essence of the art of letting go. And that is the very beginning and the very start of having a success mindset and a strong mindset. The art of letting go. The art of letting go of the way you were raised, of what you were told when you were young about your limitations or what you can and cannot do, what your teachers told you. Actually, in many cases, I've heard from many successful people many stories about how their teachers were telling them when they were young, you will always be a failure. I remember Cristiano Ronaldo. Remember a couple of successful business people. They were told by their teachers that they will not be successful because they are not so good at school or they are not so smart. Or how do you know? These people were able to let go of that kind of background, the background of how your parents raised you. And don't get me wrong, I believe that we should all appreciate the way our parents, or should appreciate our parents and the way they raised us. Even if it wasn't the greatest, I believe that they had done the best they could with the best they knew, right? So there are definitely all good intentions there. But if any of us was brought in a way, whether by our parents, by our teachers, by our friends, or what we have learned from media, or what we had thought is a limitation in our capabilities, the very first step is to let go. This is the art of letting go. Just let it go. Start fresh. You can rediscover your capabilities, and that's the very first point. The second point is uh, there are a three-step rule about changing your mindset, right? and and changing the story we tell ourselves. And this three-step rule is: first, you would start with a clear, positive message. Like, let's take the example of you want to do a certain task at your job, right? Something that you really hated doing, something you believe you cannot do, right? If it could be doing sales job, or it could be doing a presentation, or it could be doing a business case. Whatever it is, just pick it up and give yourself a clear and specific message, positive message. I can do it. I will learn how to do it. I can learn how to do it. That's the first point. The second is you should feel it. You should connect with it. It's not about standing in front of a mirror and repeating the same message, in a hollow way, or repeating a hollow message to yourself. I am smart. I can do it. I can learn it. It's not about that. It's about feeling it in your core. Believe in it. Make it. It has to. It has to resonate with you. If you want to learn how to do this business case, or if you want to learn how to do the presentation, even if you would be scared to present in front of one people, and now you're asked to present in front of a crowd, you have to believe that you can do it. You have to be convinced with this positive and specific message. And third is to repeat it to yourself every day, every hour, every minute. You have to repeat that message to yourself. Remember how you had this kind of limiting belief and you were repeating it to yourself, and you were telling yourself that you cannot do it or you're not able to do it. Now I want you to reverse that. I want you to have these steps. I want you to have that clear, specific, positive message. I want you to feel it, and I want it to resonate with you. I want you to connect with it. And I want you to keep repeating it to yourself. With these three steps, apply it to that specific point or that specific task you would like to do. And that will be your action from today's episode. I want you to think of only one thing that you were always not able to do, or you always thought you were not able to do, but you want it, you need it. It is something required for your transformation. Even if it doesn't have to be something from a business setting, it could be quitting smoking, it could be losing weight, it could be gaining weight or gaining muscles, it could be anything. And I want you to apply those three rules to it. First, I want you to apply the art of letting go of those kind of limiting beliefs. And the second, I want you to apply those three steps rule. And I will end this by telling you my own, or one of my own stories about limiting beliefs. And it's my running story. So despite always being an athlete, I played a lot of sports and a lot of martial arts sports, and I was really at the highest levels. but I was never a good runner. I remember that the longest distance I had ran throughout my entire, adolescence was probably 2 kilometers, just like like a mile and a half, less than a mile and a half. Because that I wasn't really running. I was like training any other sport. It required a little bit of running to warm up, and that's it. And I remember I had just passed my 30 years old, and I was chatting with a friend, and I get very excited about what I can do after hitting 30, and we talked about running half marathon, 21 kilometers. Obviously, the story in my mind was, I'm not a runner. The maximum I ran in my life was 2 kilometers. I'm not going to run 21 kilometers. I'm not this kind of guy. I can do any kind of sport, but just not running. And I had this conversation with a friend, and it hit me that I had never really tried running more than 2 kilometers, just because I always believed that I am not a runner and I cannot run long distance. And what I had done is I started convincing myself that I need to try. I need to give it a try. I need to give it a proper try. I went ahead, connected with a coach. I got myself a running program, preparation for the half marathon. And I remember it was after like 5 or 6 weeks from the point I had made the decision to run the half marathon. I signed up for it, had my training program, and I just started. And up to the last long run before the race was that I ran was 15 kilometers. So moved, I upgraded myself from running 2 kilometers as the longest distance I had ever run or had ever ran up to that point, to running 15 kilometers in training before the race. And the funny thing is, on the race day, obviously it was not my kind of condition. It was cold. It was an uphill run. It was like over a mountain. It was just not great, and it was freezing. Uh, but I remember that when I got to the kilometer 15, which is the longest I had ran up to that point in the race, in the training, I hit a wall. It's a terminology for runners. I hit a wall. I couldn't run anymore, and my brain was telling me, that's the longest you ever ran, from 2 kilometers to 15 kilometers. That's it. You need to quit. You have to stop now. And I remember finding myself on top of that mountain and thinking, okay, it's really cold. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Where am I going to go? And would I really have done all this training and all this effort to come here, in the middle of the race just to quit? And I found myself thinking, you know what? Every step I take after the 15 kilometers is a new record for me. Every minute I run beyond the longest I had ever run is a new record for me. And that was kind of like a natural thinking process when I was running. And I kept counting the kilometers. I kept counting. Now it's half a kilometer more. It's a kilometer more. It's another half a kilometer more. Now it's a 1 kilometer more, until I crossed the finish line. And it was super interesting to see the impact of friends or the different people seeing your story or hearing your story, after I crossed the finish line. And it tells you, it told me back then who was really thinking positively and who was thinking negatively. Because my very first half marathon, I ran it in like 2 hours 35 minutes, I think 37 minutes, something like that. And obviously it's not a very good, like, it's not a very fast time if you for half marathon runners. And those people who I met after the race and would tell me, oh, 2.5 hours, oh, that's really long, they were fixated on what was not great with the story. But there were those people who were seeing the glass half full, who would tell me, oh, wow, you ran a half marathon for the first time in your life, and you had not ran beyond 15 kilometers in your training, and you had not before that ran beyond 2 kilometers. Wow, that's amazing. That's impressive. And that's the kind of the mentality I always had with a new sport or with a new challenge or with a new race. Whatever you achieve, you control your efforts, you don't control the result, but you enjoy the journey, you enjoy the entire thing. It's about the mindset and the story you tell yourself. If I had stopped at, I'm not a runner, I ran maximum 2 kilometers, I would have never been able to do it. The moral of the story is this: It's letting go of what we just said, letting go of your influences from the past, how they influenced your mentality and your mindset. How did it put limitations on you and on your capabilities? And I want you to pick one topic and apply those three rules and tell me how it goes. I would love to hear from you in the comments or through any other media of the platforms I share content on. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you find value in this episode. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Until we meet next time.